Hi, this is Jim. I'm going to give you a very short video showing you how these online courses work. Both the courses that I'm conducting this term, GPH 205 and CSC 200, are conducted exactly the same way. They're both fully online and they're both based on workbooks to have the course contents and all the links rather than D2L. The reason I've done this is to make the courses much easier for you to follow. I think the navigation that's involved here is much simpler than the navigation you'd encounter with D2L. I'll tell you in words now, and then I'll show you in just a second. The key to these courses and doing well in them is to realize that the workbook in each case orchestrates the entire course. You start with the workbook, page 1, and you read pages one after another. Just about every page has a link on it. You can use that link, or you can go to the web resources at the course landing page and go to that page number in web resources, and you'll get my video associated with that page. So everything is in context. You read the workbook. That's where you start in each case. And in the case of GPH 205, because there is a second textbook, The Story of Art, the workbook tells you when to read each chapter in that textbook. In the case of CSC 200, there is no other book. There's only the workbook, and we get just about everything else from the web. But once again, you follow the workbook page by page. It's all laid out for you. There's no navigation involved. You simply read one page after another, and most pages have links where it's a mini lecture that I'm talking about the same topic that you find on the page. Both of these courses have written homework called unit summary forms. They're a little different in each case. Both of these courses have projects, and both of these courses have a lot of videos. Both of these courses are broken up into 5 segments that I call units. In both cases, the first 4 units are where you learn things, and the 5th unit is reflective work. It's a little different in the case of each course, but since each of these courses satisfies a liberal studies requirement, there's a requirement for reflective work, an essay or something else, at the end of the term. In both these courses, that reflective work takes the place of a final exam. And because of things I've already mentioned in terms of how the course is set up, I teach this on a mentoring basis so that you work with me. You get to submit work and resubmit it after I give you feedback on it. That's to help you perfect it. And I help you all the way through the term as much or as little as you like. None of your work depends on any other student. And finally, if you don't yet have the published workbook, in both of these courses you can go to link B at the course website, and you can download the first chapter of the workbook, which covers the first unit, and you can download it free in PDF form. So there's no reason not to get started right away. Let's take a very quick look at how one of these workbooks works and how the web resources work to support it. Here's the workbook for GPH 205. As in the case of CSC 200, the workbook is the course. If you open the workbook, you'll notice that on the very first page, there's this symbol and this URL. These are the first of 2 ways to get to the video materials for this page. You can scan this if you have a QR scanner app on your smart cell phone, or on an iPod or an iPad or a tablet computer. That's kind of a new technology, and that will get you immediately to the web resources for this page. On the other hand, this short little URL, in this case piopi.co/new, will get you to the very same place. There's also a third way to get to that point, and that's with the course landing page and the web resources page index. So let's look for page number 1 at the GPH 205 landing page. I'm going to go here to gph205.getclass.info. Here's the landing page. The cover of the workbook is the icon for this web resources index. And here's page number 1. If I click it, I go to the web resources for page number 1. I'm moving to this format for all of these links. In some cases, I haven't updated some of the links, but let's show you what's in mind for this type of access. All of these are icons. If you click the first one, it will just tell you what the organization is of the material that follows. So this is purely for information purposes. Here is a link to something. The icon is the link. Click it, and you'll see that there's a lecture coming at this point, a mini lecture based on what was on that page. Let's go farther, though. Here's something, another icon that isn't even labeled too well, maybe to pique your curiosity. Let's click it. In this case, you see a short series of little videos that I've either created or selected for you that talk about the topic, illustrated in a way that words cannot, and give you what you need to know to progress. Now, think about this. In GPH 205, you're doing all of this just at the start of the workbook. It's all in context, and you really haven't read the textbook yet because the workbook hasn't yet told you to read the textbook. These last two links are not anything to worry about at this point. I did provide in this design a way to report a problem with the link, and there's always an icon like that at the end of the list. And of course, that's the end of the list. If you click this, by the way, it will tell you that you clicked on something that's really not intended to get you any useful place. That's the nature of the Web Resources Index. And there's the same kind of index for CSC 200 for the workbook for that course. Let's go back to the workbook, though. I just want to show you how it's organized. Many pages do have this symbol, and page 3 then, in that web index, would get you to the video for it. This page doesn't have a link. It's the beginning of Unit 1 in GPH 205, and I'm just telling you what you have to read in the textbook and what you have to read in the workbook. Here in this introduction, there's more in the way of resources. And finally here, when we get to the actual subject matter content, after the administrative stuff is taken care of in the first few pages, you'll find each of these links goes to interesting things that help you understand what's on the page. And the book is always arranged to cover a topic in a page so that I don't run on saying too much about it. I keep it manageable so that page by page you can make progress. Now let's just leap ahead here. If there is a textbook associated with the course, as there is in GPH 205, when you come to page 14, for example, in the GPH 205 workbook, this will tell you to read Chapter 1 in the assigned text. This is when you read it. And the link here gets you to my video lectures for that chapter. There's more that I've written that you should read, but now we get to Chapter 2, page 20. Here is what's covered in Chapter 2. My lecture for it is at this link. So once again, scan that, or enter that URL, or go to the course landing page, Web Resources Index, and just look for page 20, and you'll get to my lectures on Chapter 2. So as I say, everything is orchestrated by way of the workbook. You just simply read the workbook instead of trying to pick through material like this online on D2L. At the end of the unit, you come to the online exercise. The content of the exercise is true-false questions in groups of 10. I put these into the workbook in printed form so you can take notes as you go through the readings and the chapters and the videos. You can take notes and mark the ones that are true. And when you get done with the unit, you go to this link, once again, either the QR code or that URL or the web page index at the landing page for page 50, and you'll get to the online exercise and you complete it there. The unit summary form takes the form of this matrix. It's written homework in GPH 205 in this matrix form. You fill out the information here, just phrases with the facts art purpose for this civilization, art purpose for this one, art formation rules for this civilization. This comes from the readings, the workbook, and the videos. This is for note-taking purposes, both sides. When you finished your notes on this, you use these links or the Web Resources Index to download this form, and you use a word processor to put in your information in electronic form. So your notes, you can follow those in completing this. And the project, in this case, has supporting video resources, so there's a link here as well. GPH 205, you do the project, and that's one of the 3 items that's due in the grading. Now, at the end of the GPH 205 workbook, I'm just going to show you this. There's a summary in the form of an index that does tell you what's due for a unit. It gives you a place to put in the due date that you've established, and if you want to keep track of when you submitted it, this is a handy way to do it. These are the pages on which that work is described. Now, there isn't a similar index in CSC 200. The projects are a little more varied. Let's take a look at the CSC 200 workbook at this time. Here's the Contemporary Computing workbook. As I go through it, you'll notice a very similar organization. Here's QR code, URL, and at the landing page for this course, you see the cover of the workbook, and you see a Web Resources Index that's very similar. Here, if I wanted to see what was coming up with page 1 in that workbook, and you can see it's a video supporting what I've said here. As you progress through this, you'll see the very same pattern. I've organized these courses this way because I think it's much easier for students to do this work given the time demands on students. You're probably busy. You have to make productive use of small scraps of time. If you carry the workbook with you, you can always make progress reading it. If you're within range of Wi-Fi and have any type of device, you can see the video supporting this. You can take notes in the book as you acquire knowledge. This facilitates a mode of learning that fits a modern, busy lifestyle. That's the whole point. And I don't like to see people have to waste time hunting up where the video resources is for this page, or trying to find this page as a PDF in some computer system and read it on some scrunchy screen and try and take notes on something else. That whole way of doing business, I think, presumes that you're going to be sitting for periods of time at a computer, and you're going to be doing the course that way, that the classroom is inside the computer screen. I don't think that's a very good paradigm anymore, and I think web resources have developed to the point where we can do things much better than that. And I think the fact that you get this workbook in print form means that you can make use of these tools for note-taking purposes that are much handier than they would be in electronic form. All of these projects, by the way, in CSC 200 are oriented to electronic submission as well. So make sure you read all this information about it, but the whole point is I've tried to put what I'm saying in video close to where I'm saying it in print and where you need the information. And here you see towards the end of the projects now in Unit 1, there is the written homework, although in this case the unit summary form is simply questions. You can write out notes here, but then you download the electronic version of this, and having put your information into it, that's what you submit to me. Well, I hope this short tour is helpful to you in understanding how these courses work. If you like the one, you might even like to take the other. They both satisfy liberal studies requirements, GPH 205 History, and CSC 200, a Science No Lab requirement. And they've been popular with students over the years, and I've developed these workbooks and refined them to the point that they're each into multiple editions now. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to help you as your mentor, and I've tried to design these materials in such a way that they support you in your learning activities and what I presume is a rather busy schedule